My weekly and monthly resets in Notion allow me to stay on top of things and actually enjoy what I do. And that's all while juggling making weekly YouTube content, revising my novel, staying on top of my life admin, exercising, and working full-time. I won't only be showing you what is in my weekly and monthly resets, but also how I decided what to include in my resets and how you can make a reset that actually improves the way you live your life. And it's not that I don't have low energy days. Those are inevitable. But my system in Notion and the mindset that I'm going to share with you in this video mean that those low days happen a lot less. And when they do happen, I'm able to make the conscious decision to slow down, take my foot off the accelerator for a moment. The key being, only for a moment. I don't let those low energy days derail my progress like I used to. So I designed my new life dashboard in Notion at the start of the year. It's only been a month, but I have made so many changes, and I want to run through what those changes are, why I made them, and how to observe your own processes and make meaningful changes that actually have an impact. Sometimes it's easy to make changes for the sake of change. You know something needs to change, but you're not sure what. I'll explain while I run through my weekly and monthly resets in Notion. So I've already gone through the first part of my weekly reset in a previous video, so I'll leave that linked below. I won't go into too much detail in this video because you can go and watch that one. But I've even made changes since filming that video last week. My resets are ever evolving, and that's a really important factor to their success. You can't set up a reset at the start of the year and expect it to continue to work for the next 12 months. It's got to be an iterative process to account for changes that happen in life. And I'm not necessarily showing you my resets so that you can use them as a template for your own. I'm showing you how I built my resets to suit my life and hopefully inspire you to do the same for yours. Templates can be really helpful to get ideas and see what's possible, but I believe the best systems are built by the person who's going to use them. So in order to decide on what was going to be in my weekly reset, I sat down and I thought about the things that had been overwhelming me, the tasks that kept slipping past and then piling up at some point. Anything that needs to be done roughly on a weekly basis, or things that will inspire or motivate you for the week ahead. So the first section is my to-dos. The headings are a new addition to my reset. It was starting to get a little bit long, so I felt like I needed to chunk it down into different categories. So I already went through the first 4 points of my weekly reset in my previous video, but I'll go over them briefly now and then go through the rest of my reset. So this is how I build my to-do list every week. I start off by adding to-do lists for each day of the week. Then I schedule in my days of the week tasks. So things like getting groceries or mowing the lawns, doing cleaning, the washing, things like that. Then I open up my calendar and I see if there are any tasks that I need to do based on the things that are coming up in the following week. And then I look at my master task list and the tasks that I had left over from the week before and see how many of those tasks I can add in, making sure that I keep it achievable. Now the next 2 points I only added in last week, but these were things that I was sort of doing on the fly, and I felt like it would be better if they were a part of my weekly reset. So the first is updating my YouTube process form and adding any tasks that I'll need to do into my to-do lists for the week. So this form is brand new. I literally made it yesterday, but I'm so excited for it. I think I'm gonna end up recreating this form in Notion because I think it'll be helpful to have things that are editable. But for now, I'm just so happy to have this all out of my head and onto a page. I hadn't realized how many different processes and tasks I'd been juggling in my mind. No wonder I was feeling overwhelmed by it all. Now, all I have to do is follow this one piece of paper and it will carry me through 3 weeks of creating content for this channel. I'm no longer using my brain to process all of this, and so I'm able to use it to actually do the tasks that I'm needing to do. Now, what I wanted to share is the way that I designed this one-page process. I made it in Canva, but that's not what I mean. I didn't use a template that another YouTuber had created. I literally got a blank piece of paper and just started writing my process, the process that I've been using, that I've had up in my head. I started writing it out and scribbling over and drawing arrows and trying to formulate my own process based on how my mind works. I could have probably got a template off someone else and been able to follow it, but having built it myself, I know that every single thing on this form is something that I'm going to use, and it's been made in a way that works with my brain. I'll keep you posted on how it goes and whether I make any changes, which I most likely will. I've already made some changes since filling it out for the first time, but again, just like my weekly resets, it's an iterative process and it's going to evolve as my processes evolve over time. So the next thing on my weekly reset is to update my FDC program activities table and add any tasks that I need to do into my weekly to-do lists. Now this is something for my work, so I won't really share it here, but the important thing that I want to note is that this took years of iterations. It doesn't really matter what the process is. The important thing is to become observant and recognize when things aren't working, and then sitting down to brainstorm ways that you can go about improving the situation. You can ask questions like, what is going to help in this situation? What are the sticking points? Why hasn't it worked up until now? These kinds of questions can help you make meaningful change. So the next section in my reset is all to do with movement. I originally started with just doing my movement trigger toolkit, which I'm gonna do a video on soon. But when that was my only guiding task, I ended up not really going to my toolkit and kind of just asking in my head, have I been exercising? Yes or no? And then if the answer was yes, great. I didn't really feel like I needed to do anything else. But just because I had been exercising in the past didn't mean that that was going to motivate me to exercise the following week. And this is a weekly reset. It's supposed to be setting me up for a new week. So I made sure to add in schedule exercise so that I was adding in exercise into my actual to-do lists for each day. But then I realized that an important step in my movement trigger toolkit isn't to just say schedule exercise, because that actually doesn't make it happen. But there are small supportive actions that I can take that have less resistance than the task of exercise. And those are things like filling up my drink bottle or laying out my workout clothes. So now I've got that in my weekly reset to choose 3 supportive actions I can take to help with my exercise routine. The last 2 items were originally optional, and I guess technically they still are, but I've really found it super beneficial to actually do these 2. Resetting the house makes me feel so good on a Monday morning when I start work. The whole house has been cleaned and I don't have to do it the morning of, and I'm able to exercise instead. And then deleting my photos, I've actually for the first time, and I know it's only been a month, but I am on top of deleting my photos because I've actually been doing it weekly. And so hopefully my phone doesn't get tens of thousands of photos like it has in the past, and it stays at a more reasonable, manageable amount. I also added in my toolkit questions into my actual reset. So I've entered in each week of the month and the corresponding dates. And then at the start of each week, I answer 3 questions. And then at the end of the month, I answer a few more reflective questions about how I feel like the previous month has gone, and see if there are any patterns or anything that I can change or improve. So that is my week reset. It seems like a lot of things now that I'm looking at it. I remember when I first started my weekly reset, I was like, I don't want it to be a lot of things. I wanted like 1 or 2 things. And I started out that way, and that was really beneficial for me to sort of get into the habit of doing it. But now that I've got a set routine in place, I'm able to add more things. I'm only adding things that are really beneficial and that I feel like I need in order to stay on top of things. All of these things allow me to feel more in control of my life and enjoy what I'm doing instead of feeling overwhelmed all the time and like I'm running to the ground. So I do recommend, if you haven't got a weekly reset in place at the moment, to start small, just with 1 or 2 or 3 items, the things that are going to make the biggest impact. And then once you're in the routine of doing your weekly reset, then you can start adding more to it. So now I move on to my monthly reset. So I start off with a few reflective questions, just a bit of a check-in to see where I'm at, if I need to make any changes. So it's a general check-in about how I'm feeling, and then there's a goals check-in as well, checking whether my priorities are still aligned with what I'm wanting to do. One addition that I did make was adding in an actions toggle. So as I'm going through my monthly reset, if there are any actions that come out of the questions that I ask. So for example, in last month's reset, I reflected on the fact that I didn't really have any kind of exercise that I was really looking forward to and enjoying. I felt like exercise was becoming a burden again because I wasn't able to do some of the types of exercise that I usually enjoy because of injuries. And so one of the actions that came out of that was trying to find an accountability partner. So finding someone in my life that we can book in a weekly, just a weekly activity that we can do together in order to make it a little bit more fun. So having a specific section for the actions that come out of those reflective questions was a really good addition. So once I've answered the reflective questions, I go through and I do my monthly recap. Now I do like doing, and I may add this into my weekly reset, but I do like doing this throughout the month because it's really hard to remember what you've done over an entire month. I start off with 3 words that sum up my month. And then below that, I have my wins for the month, life moments that mattered, streaming that mattered. So what have we been watching, what movies, what TV shows, and then books that mattered, YouTubers that mattered, ideas that mattered, and things that mattered. So it's basically just a recap of like, what have I been reading? What have I been watching? What have I been doing? What things have been important? What ideas have I had that might be life-changing that I want to reflect back on? So I really loved this process. I did it for every single month last year, and I really want to do it again. I've culled it a little bit since last year, and I'm now including it in my monthly reset, and I'm really excited about it. So then I have a few financial things in my monthly reset. I used to just have one task as update my budget, but I was finding there was a lot of resistance towards it. I would really delay it and it would get into like partway through the next month by the time I was actually getting around to it. And I think it was because updating my budget has a few different things that needs to happen, and it felt like a bit too big of a task. So I've split it up into 3 different sections. The first is bank app assigning. And I like this one because I can do it on my phone, and I feel like that is also a barrier to this task, is that a lot of things can happen in my phone, but updating my budget has to happen on the computer. And so I'm not usually like on my computer when I'm doing my monthly reset. So assigning categories to all of my transactions, I can do on my phone. And then once I've done that, I'm able to then update those in my budget. And then the other task is just to do a mortgage transfer and check the rates of one of my accounts. That's super quick and easy, but it's just something I need to remember to do. So I've got it in my monthly reset. And then the next 2 things is just to delete unnecessary photos. So even though I'm culling photos every week, I then go back through the previous month and cull anything further. So I might have had a screenshot that I needed at the time, but now I look back and I don't need it anymore, things like that. So I cull the photos a bit further, and then I back them up to my Google Drive. I had it on automatically backing up, but then it was backing up every photo I took instead of acknowledging the ones that I'm deleting. So now I've turned off the automatic backup, and I'm just gonna back them up every single month with my monthly reset. And then I've just got clearing out my done archive. I explain what I mean by this in my previous Notion video. Whenever I do a task, I put it into a done toggle, and I want to split them up monthly. So basically all I'm doing is just taking every single thing that I did and then putting it into the month of February or the month of March. The last thing on my monthly reset is my work reset. So I originally had this in a separate page in Notion, and I still have it there, but again, there's a lot of resistance to me doing this, and I find that when it's all in one place, there's a lot less resistance. So I've actually added in the tasks that I need to do for my work reset inside this life reset. And I feel like that's gonna be a lot more motivating for me to do it. So you can see how the things on my weekly and monthly reset are very specific to me. I did want to highlight my favorite change that I made to my monthly reset, which was adding my monthly recap into my actual reset section in Notion. You can see me come to this realization in real time in one of my Notion videos. It's so satisfying when you remove steps from a process. It's like the ultimate efficiency. So my next plan is going to be to merge my new YouTube process with my AuthorTube channel that I'm going to be starting, as well as the process surrounding the revision of my novel. It's going to be a lot to try to fit into one system, but let me know if you'd be interested in seeing a video on how I do that once I eventually work it out. Now, I would be lying if I said that having a custom weekly and monthly reset is all that you need to feel on top of things and actually enjoy what you do. There have been so many different factors that have led me to this point in my life, and I talk about a lot of them in the other videos on my channel. I have really put in the work over the last 2 to 3 years to work on my mindset, reframing my thoughts, learning my triggers, reprogramming my misbeliefs, and changing my attitude towards goals and habits. All of these steps that I've taken is what's led me to this life that I love. So alongside making your weekly and monthly resets, I highly recommend watching some of these mindset shift videos. I'll leave a playlist linked below. But in the meantime, I want to wish you all the best in making your own successful and impactful resets. Comment below if you have any tips of your own to share in regards to your reset processes. I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.